I'll be your host for today because Yaz is otherwise unavailable. Hopefully you can all see my screen. So let's start with the roll call. For the core consensus team, do we have representatives from the core app team?
Yes, I believe we have the whole crew here. I think
Awesome.
Colin and Ratul and myself and Rashid and Nina as well.
And I see Sanaz as well.
Oh, nice.
Excellent. That is actually the whole team. Wow. Okay. Do we have representatives from Strangelove?
Hey, I'm here. Alex, check out the park side.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. How about the IBC team? I don't hear any response from the IBC team. Does anyone know if the IBC team is here?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Are we going to talk about anything about IBC? Wait, it looks like we will, which is okay. If they join later, someone raise their hand and say that they're here. Do we have anyone from Binary Builders?
Yep.
Welcome, Marco. And last but not least, for the consensus team is Informal.
Yeah, I'm here, Ethan.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Ethan. Okay, on to the DA side. Celestia Node.
Yeah, so Brene and myself are here.
Awesome. And the Iger team?
I'm representing Iger.
Nice. Okay, that's it for the roll call. Unless I missed someone or /team, please interject now. Let's start with the working group updates, and then we can go over the CIPs. So updates from the DA working group. I believe that's Ramin.
Yeah. We haven't had a meeting again still. We're getting close to the end of a release plan for all the pruning stuff, and then Schwab still hasn't been put into main, so we're waiting on those. It feels like every few weeks we say we'll do one in the next week, so that's on me to get going. But there hasn't really been much to go over, so no significant updates.
Okay, thank you. Updates from the interface working group.
A similar station to the working group. There was no calls and no updates so far, and we do them on demand. There was no demand yet. There's only like CAP proposed by Column on a fee estimation interface, but it was discussed a few calls away back.
Okay. And I'm sure there's some updates on this one, but how about from the ZK working group? Do we have Zaki or anyone from the Sync team here? I don't see them.
I could give a brief update, which is
Sure.
that there's been, well, the meeting's happening after this one, but last week there was discussion through the different options. There's been a few other options that have emerged, and Aditya and I just did a write-up on potentially using IBC. So I think today we'll be talking about whether or not IBC is sort of appropriate as a transport protocol for the ZK Snark accounts. But you can just follow the forum. There's the forum post. There's updates there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Ethan. Okay, let's go over the CIPs in that case. So starting with CIP 17, the lemongrass hard fork. Two things. One of them just general updates, but secondly, I believe in the last call, CIP 12 was not discussed. Is that correct?
Incentivization middleware, but that's the RAM, correct?
Yes, RAM.
Yeah, I don't remember or not if we discussed it last week.
Okay, it looks like there's people from Interchain here. Did we need people from the IBC team to talk about this?
Ideally, yes, I think so. But we can also move it async.
Okay. In that case, we can. Okay, how about Evan? Do you want to maybe give a brief summary of this so people have context, and then we can talk about your community pool proposal, also so people have context, and then we can go back to the CIP 17 lemongrass hard fork.
Yeah. So we definitely want to include the relayer incentivized middleware. I think the only decision that's still to be made is when. So whether it's this upcoming hard fork in the lemongrass hard fork, or if it's the one afterwards. We developed some sort of like rough framework for determining whether some software was sort of ready to be included. And I think Rutul wrote up like a really good, I think it was like 5 different things, right, Rutul? Over like various different properties that we would look that like in general everyone can sort of look for and gauge for themselves, and then we can sort of discuss. It's still sort of a rough framework, like it's not always like deterministic. However, we think that the PFM does meet this criteria currently. We think the RAM will meet this criteria soon, and we wanted to help get that over the finish line. So one of the things that we've done is started the discussions with the Celestia community and then also other grant giving communities to sort of try and raise funds to do these audits, because these audits for these layer incentivized middleware and things like the PFM, they affect all Cosmos chains. So while Cosmos chains might have their disagreements every now and then, we do, when push comes to shove, I do think that we would protect each other and contribute funds to sort of do this. That audits are cheap, exploits are expensive, and what's even more expensive is like the trust of users being comfortable of using these chains. So it feels like an incredibly good investment. It's something that's very concrete that we can write down that shows that like expectations around an audit. So we've had a few teams suggest things. So Zelic is one of the teams that has been suggesting. I don't think that they they just sent me a PDF last night, but I don't think that they wanted it to be shared public yet. I was double checking with them. If that's the case, if they want to be shared public, roughly information they gave a estimate for how many engineering hours it takes for them to audit the PFM and to audit the RIM. So the RIM audit is not yet scheduled. The PFM audit already is scheduled, and they were generous enough to do the audit for free for the PFM. However, this proposal also suggests that we should pay them for that. So again, this isn't just for the Celestia community pool, but it's hopefully for other Cosmos chains as well. Given that this is both of these middlewares for IBC affect all Cosmos chains. It's like part of the Cosmos stack at this point, right? So since it's part of the Cosmos stack, since it's a tool that we all use, and since it affects users across all of these chains, we think that we should pull funds to audit them.
Cool.
And that's it.
Thank you, Evan. So going back to CIP 17, the lemongrass hard fork, are there any general updates or specific updates for this one?
After we have discussion, the rough consensus now is that RAM, since we're not sure, we don't think that it's ready yet, the rough consensus, right? But it will be ready soon. So, but we still haven't heard feedback from other teams who maybe disagree with that sentiment, or whether if they can confirm if they do agree with that sentiment. And if we get, I think that's the current blocker on making any like final decision on whether or not RAM gets included in the lemongrass hard fork or the hard fork afterwards.
Cool. So if anyone feels strongly, I guess a call to action is please post your discussion points. If you want this to be included, then please post your support of it in the thread that's linked. Oh, I guess the CIP. Let's go CIP 12. Please post your support for it in this thread over here for CIP 12. Sound good? Excellent. So you're saying beyond this, the rest is basically good to go.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So next item on the agenda is CIP 19, which I believe is swap. That is being moved back to review due to a change being proposed here, a breaking change. Halib, would you like to give us an update on this one?
Sure. This is like a course change that cleans up something in the protocol design, and it's something we decided me and Vlad to do before it's too late. And this is why we have to revert the status of the CIP back to in review. This means that the CIP will be merged and become a final a bit later, but it's fine. You want to make sure that all the design is solid and long term. I don't want to go over details of this change. It's too niche and too low level details. If anyone is interested, they're free to read the PR description. It's describes the motivation well enough, and that's it.
Awesome. Definitely agree that it's better to get it in now than after it's been deployed to mainnet. We'll have to do a breaking change then. Okay, yeah. So this is getting back to review. I don't see a PR to move this from last call back to review. So I'll leave that as an action item for you to also change the PR status back to in review.
I thought it's responsibility of
Is
the
it in this one here too? Okay,
but
then-
I can do it myself as well.
I see. Yeah, it's not in this PR, but if it's a responsibility of the editors, then action item for the editors to move this back to in review. Okay. Thank you for that. Now, the last thing on our agenda is an update on CIP 20, a new CIP by Rutul. Would you like to give us an update on this one? Or I guess an introduction on this one, because it's brand new.
Yeah, sure. So this CIP was pretty last minute, but it's mostly a like kind of code cleanup, state machine cleanup thing. And that is there's this blobstream module, which previously was named QGB, but there's this QGB blobstream module in Celestia app currently. And that blobstream module is no longer really relevant or needed. And so the SIP talks about potentially disabling it. Doesn't talk about when we could disable this in V2 or we could disable this in the subsequent hard fork. The rationale being it's just kind of like a simplification of the state machine. It doesn't need to be able to handle the transactions and queries that are part of that state machine. That's really all there is to it. Actually, one thing. It was deprecated in favor of this other architecture, this other implementation called Blobstream X, which people are already using on like real networks. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Blobstream X, of course, not requiring any support from the Celestia state machine to work, while the old Blobstream did, hence why there are components in the state machine. So to clarify for viewers' contexts, this won't affect the ability for nodes to sync from Genesis, given that the Blobstream module was part of the state machine prior to its removal.
Exactly.
Awesome. Are you advocating for it to be included in the next hard fork, or no?
I think I am advocating for it to be included because it's a pretty small change, and Callum's done this great work on introducing like this versioned module manager and configurator that should make it relatively straightforward to disable Blobstream in V2. But I'm not saying it's a like lemongrass hard fork blocker. Like if people really want this in V2 for whatever reason, we could delay it. Yeah, that's my stance on it.
I see. So as an action item for you, can you kind of explicitly say when you want it to be included? As I guess
sure.
Sure.
Do I modify the lemongrass hard fork SIP to like add this one then? I think that's what I would do.
I guess so. Yeah, make a PR for that, and people can discuss in the PR.
Okay. All right.
And also the forum post.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, as the coordinator, I'll say it seems there's, unless there's any objections, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be included in that, because it's relatively uncontroversial given that it's not even used and it won't be used.
Is there a timeline for lemongrass?
Is there a timeline for lemongrass? Evan
There's
or Rutul?
There's a rough timeline on like when we want to have feature freeze, which is in about a month, because that's when we start this audit process with Informal for about a month. And then after that, we'll start deploying to test nets and then eventually mainnet. That's our fuzzy timeline right now.
That sounds like at least enough time to get CIP 20 into final, among
Okay.
other things.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. If we don't have, does anyone have any last things they want to add, or are we good for today? I'll give you guys a minute to raise hands or object.
I wanted to revisit the PFM and ICA inclusion within lemongrass. I missed out the last meeting because I was out of office.
Yeah, they're both
Okay.
already implemented and I think still slated for inclusion in lemongrass. So they
Wonderful.
exist on May. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. We can end it a bit early, and I'll see you, or I guess Yaz will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John.
Thanks, John.
Have a good one.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.